Alright, so for unlike bases, think about it as fractions. So if you have 2 over 7 plus 3 over 5, you obviously can't add them. You would have to find common denominators by multiplying this one by 5 and this one by 7. Just to find your quickest common denominator, you'll be left with 10 over 35 plus 21 over 35. Then you can add them by keeping that denominator. We're going to be left with 31, and then you would simplify if possible. Otherwise, you would just leave it alone. Okay, so it's kind of the same stuff. So let's take a look at the next one. Right. So for this one, we have example 1. We're going to have to find the common denominator, rewrite the fractions using the common denominator, and adjust each numerator to reflect the change of the denominator. And then add and subtract the numerators and keep the common denominator and simplify if needed. That's referring to the factoring. So let's look at this one. X over 3 plus x over 2. You can now add those because they're not common denominators. So I'm going to multiply this one by 3 over 3. And I'm going to multiply this one by 2 over 2. Because then that's going to give me 2x over 6 plus 3x over 6. Now I can go ahead and combine them. So 2x plus 3x is 5x. Over 6. There's nothing I can simplify. I can't factor anything here. The 5 and 6 don't cancel out, so then we're done. Example 2. We have 6 and 30 at the bottom. I can't do anything with these here until I have common denominators. So I'm going to go ahead and leave 30 alone. But the 6, I'm going to multiply that by a 5 over top and bottom. That's going to, remember, you're multiplying it the top by 5. So this will be 5a plus 50 all over 6 minus 2a minus 1. Whoops, not 6, 30. Now you can combine like terms here. Okay, I'm going to get 5a minus 2a, that's 3a. Then I'm going to get 50 minus a negative 1, so that's going to be plus 51 all over 30. And then you're going to see if there's anything you can factor. So I can take out a 3. A plus 3 goes into 5 one time, left over is 2, 21, so I get 17 over 30. This will cancel out to a 1, that's a 10. So my answer here is A plus 17 over 10. And then you're done. Whoops. A plus 17 over 10. Whoops, yeah, was that? Yeah. Alright, so let's look at these now. Alright, so same thing, you're trying to get common denominators. So if you look at this one, we have 5k plus 20. This is just k plus 4, which means we need to change this one to look more like this one. So I'm going to go and think, okay, what number can I multiply to get 5k plus 20? Well, that one's kind of obvious since I need a 5. For the top and bottom, that's going to give me 5k, and then 5 times 4 is 20, so plus 20. So then I'm going to have k plus 24 all over 5k plus 20 plus 5k all over 5k plus 20. I'm going to be left with, we're going to combine these like terms, so k plus 5k is 6k plus 24 all over 5k plus 20. But if it's not this answer yet, which means I can probably still factor some stuff. I'm going to factor out a 6, which is going to give me k plus 4 all over 5 over k plus 4. These cancel. I'm left with just 6 over 5. And then example 4. This one's a little bit tricky to kind of figure out, okay, what do I need? Now, obviously, I'm going to have to change the r minus 1 to look more like this. So I have to think about, okay, what do I have to multiply it by? So right now, this r needs to be multiplied by another r to eventually get an r squared. So I'm going to be multiplying by r here. Okay. Now, I need to multiply by something here that will eventually, when I multiply it by a negative 1, it'll generate a negative 6. So the only answer would be a positive 6. Okay. So I know that I still haven't done anything with the 5r, but that'll be taken care of in a little bit. So I'm going to multiply r plus 6. Again, the reason I'm choosing r plus 6 is because this r needs to be multiplied by another r to get r squared. This negative 1 needs to be multiplied by a positive 6 to get that negative 6. The inside will eventually come to. So now let's go ahead and do that. So multiply everything. So r times 4r will give you 4r squared. And then 6 times 4r will be positive 24r. Then at the bottom we're going to have r squared minus r plus 6r minus 6 minus 28r r squared plus 5r minus 6. So right now this doesn't look like that, but if you combine your like terms, this right here will add up to a 5r. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that so I don't have to waste so much room. So now I'll have r squared plus 5r minus 6. So now let's combine our like terms because I have common denominators now. So 4r squared, I can't take away anything, so 4r squared stays. 24r minus 28r, that's going to give me a negative 4r all over r squared plus 5r minus 6. This is where you're going to have to factor because clearly it's still not what we have. I'm going to be left with 4r, r minus 1, and then at the bottom I'm going to be left with, r plus 6, r minus 1. These cancel. You're left with 4r over r plus 6, which is what I had as my answer. Alright, let's move on. Number 1 and 2. I'm only going to do number 1. You guys can do 2. It says find the sum or difference. Write each answer in simplest form. So same thing. I can't subtract these because that's a 5p, that's a 15p. It's easier to change this 5p into a 15. In fact, that's the only way to go. So I'm going to multiply this by 3 and 3. 12 over 15p minus 7 over 15p. Now 12 minus 7. You can subtract those because they're like terms. So you're going to be left with 5 over 15p. You can simplify this. Divide by 5. You're going to be left with 1 over 3p. You guys can do 2. Right. So now let's go into some other ones that require a little bit more work. I'm not going to do 3. I will do 4 though. So let's look at 4. You have all of these denominators down here. However, you want to find the one that they can all turn into. Now, 5 turns into 10, and 10's already 10, but the 4 will never turn into 10, sorry. However, all of these will turn into 20, which is what you're going to want to work with. So in order to get 5 into 20, I'm going to have to multiply it by 4. In order to get 4 into 20, I'm going to have to multiply this by 5. In order to get 10 into 20, I'm going to have to multiply it by 2. So now I'm going to be left with 4 times 9x. Let me change the color. So I'm going to be left with 36x all over 20 minus 15x over 20 plus 14x over 20. So now I'm going to combine like terms. All of these can combine. Okay, the top, that all combines. So 36x minus 15x. We're going to be left with 21x right here. So 21x over 20 plus 14x over 4. So that's going to end up giving me, we're going to have 25. I don't know why I put 4. So 21, 31, 35x over 20. But that's still not 7x over 4, so I'm going to have to simplify. Okay, if I divide this by 5 and this by 5, I'm going to be left with 7x over 4, which is what I got. Alright, let's look at number 5. So for number 5, the denominators are 3 and 6. This one I'm going to have to multiply by 2 because I don't want to do anything to the 6 because 2 times 3 is already 6, so there's no point of doing anything else. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2. That's going to give me 2y minus 4 over 6 plus y plus 1 over 6. Now let's combine like terms. We're going to get 2y plus y. That's going to give me 3y. Negative 4 plus a positive 1 will give me a negative 3 over 6. Now this right here I'm going to factor out a 3. And this will turn into a 1. This will turn into a 2. I'm left with y minus 2 over 2. Sorry, y minus 1 over 2. Okay. Now, 12 and 16, you have to figure out their common denominator. And then multiply top and bottom. What number will they both turn into? So you guys will do that one. Okay. I'll do number 7 and 8. So for number 7, the denominators, we have x minus 1 and 2x plus 4 minus 14. So for this one, I have to change this one. So I have to look. Okay, I need a 2x and I have an x, which means I'm going to have to multiply by a 2 here. Now I have a negative 7, but I need a negative 14, which means I'm going to have to multiply it by, whoops, I meant to put, so 2. And then we're going to have negative 7 times what gives me negative 14, so it's just going to be 2. So I'm actually only multiplying top and bottom by 2 here. So that's going to give me 2 over 2x minus 14 plus 6 over 2x minus 14. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms. This is going to be 8 over 2x minus 14. I can factor the bottom. Whoops. So this will cancel out to a 1. That'll turn into a 4. So I'm left with 4 over x minus 7. Alright, number 8. I'm going to have to figure out, okay, so the k plus 3 has to turn into k squared minus 9. So I'm going to go ahead and determine, okay, I need to multiply this by k, because this k and that k will give me a k squared. But now I need to figure out, what do I multiply by 3 to get a negative 9? So that's going to be a negative 3. So I'm going to have to multiply top and bottom by that, which will give me, we have 6k over k squared minus 9 plus k squared minus 3k, because you have to multiply it by everything. K squared minus 3k plus 3k minus 9. Now it doesn't look like what we need, but you're going to combine like terms. This right here will turn into, or cancels out to 0, leaving just k squared minus 9. So I'm going to leave it as 6k over k squared minus 9 plus k squared minus 3k all over k squared minus 9. So now I have like terms. I'm going to go ahead and combine everything. So the 6k combines with a negative 3k, but I'm actually going to write k squared first. So 6k plus negative 3k is going to be plus 3k all over k squared minus 9. Now I'm going to factor. So k plus 3, and then k minus 3, k plus 3. These cancel. I'm left with k over k minus 3. Alright. Okay, let's look at the next one. Alright, I'm not going to do 9. I'll do 10 though. Okay, so for 10, you want to turn this m minus 5 into m squared minus m minus 20. So first things first, I need to multiply by m, because m times m will give me m squared. Now I need to see, okay, I have a negative 5. What times negative 5 gives me a negative 20? So that's a positive 4. Again, this right here, that will solve itself as we go. So I'm going to multiply by m plus 4. Okay, so m plus 4 times 1 is just going to be m plus 4 all over m squared minus 5m plus 4m minus 20 plus 2m minus 19 all over m squared minus m minus 20. Now this right here, if you combine it, it's actually going to give you the negative m that you need here. So let me rewrite it. M plus 4 all over m squared minus m minus 20. See how these are like terms, or sorry, common denominators. So now let's combine like terms. M plus 2m is 3m. 4 plus negative 19 is negative 15. All over m squared minus m plus or minus 20. You're going to factor. I'm going to factor out a 3. And then you're going to factor the bottom. We're going to get m minus 5 and m plus 4. These will cancel. You're going to be left with 3 over m plus 4. And I don't know if that's the right answer, but I think it is. Let's check. Yep, 3 over m plus 4. Alright, so now let's look at the next ones. I'll do 11. And we'll see. Alright, so for number 11, same thing. Your denominators. This is the one that I'm going to be multiplying by. So I have a g and I need a g squared, which means I need to multiply by a g. I have a positive 2 and I need a negative 8. I'm sorry, positive 8, which means I'm going to have to multiply by 4. So the 6g right here, this will, again, like I said, eventually we'll get it. As far as I know, you're going to be looking at these. That's what's helping you generate your common denominator. So g times g is g squared. 4 times 2 is 8. This will follow. Okay, so let's look at it. So g plus 4. So we have g squared plus 4g all over g squared plus 6g plus 8 plus, you're going to go ahead and distribute that, 3g plus 12 all over g squared plus 4g plus 2g plus 8. Still doesn't look like it, but this, when you combine it, it'll give you 6g, which is what you need. So g squared plus 4g all over g squared plus 6g plus 8 plus 3g plus 12 plus g squared plus 6g plus 8. Now you have common denominators. Let's go ahead and combine these. So g plus g, 3g, that's going to give you 4g plus, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Your g squared, you can't combine it with anything. So just rewrite it. 4g plus 3g is 7g, and then plus 12. So g squared plus 6g plus 8. Now you're going to go ahead and factor. So g plus 3, g plus 4. This will be g plus 2, g plus 4, cancel. You're left with g plus 3 over g plus 2. And I'm not going to do 12, but I will help you find your common denominator. So over here, I need to turn this into this. So I'm going to multiply. This a needs to turn into an a squared by multiplying by a. This 1 needs to turn into 5 by multiplying by positive 5. So you're going to multiply by a plus 5 on everything. Okay? Which will eventually lead to your common denominators. So you're going to have 4a over a squared plus 6a plus 5 plus a plus 5. And then you're going to distribute that. Keep going. Alright. So now let's look at number 13. I need to turn this p plus 2 into this p squared minus p minus 6. So I'm going to multiply. P times p will give me p squared. 2 times negative 3 will give me negative 6. This negative p will follow as we go along. So let's see. P minus 3. Let's go ahead and distribute. I'm left with 5 over p squared minus p minus 6 plus p minus 3. P squared minus 3p plus 2p minus 6. combine like terms. P squared minus P minus 6 plus P minus 3. P squared minus P minus 6. Now I have like terms. Okay, you guys keep going from there, combine your like terms. Let's go over number 14. And I forgot to put the answers to help me. Alright, 14. We want to turn this into this, okay? So figuring that out. 4z times what gives me 4z? I need a z, because 4z times z will give me z squared. Negative 1 times what gives me a negative 3? That has to be a positive 3. So you're going to be multiplying by z plus 3 at the top and the bottom here. Okay? And then you'll keep going with that one. Alright, let's look at, let me see, 15. Yeah, I'll do 15 and 16. And then you guys will do the rest and you'll do the homework as well. Okay, so for 15, we need to turn this r minus 3 into 2r squared minus 5r minus 3. So I'm going to multiply. R times 2r will give me 2r squared. Negative 3 times a positive 1 will give me a negative 3. So 2r plus 1. So now let's do this one. I have r squared plus 8r minus 12 all over 2r squared minus 5r minus 3 minus, you're multiplying everything by the 2r plus 1. So I'm going to be left with 6r plus 3. And then you're going to be left with 2r squared plus r minus 6r minus 3. Let's combine like terms. At the bottom of the denominator. So we have 2r squared minus 5r minus 3. Now let's combine our numerators. So we have r squared with nothing. 8r minus 6r is 2r. Negative 12 minus a positive 3. That's going to give me a negative 15. All over 2r squared minus 5r minus 3. So let's factor. This is going to be r plus 5 and then r minus 3. So that's going to give me my positive 2 that I need. Now this one here, we can't factor it yet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the side work. So I'm going to be left with r squared minus 5r minus 6. We're left with r minus 6, r plus 1, divide by 2, r minus 3, and 2r plus 1. So we have 2r plus 1 and r minus 3. These cancel. We're left with r plus 5 over 2r plus 1. Okay, so for number 16, we're trying to get x plus 2 to turn into x squared plus x minus 2. And then we're also trying to get x minus 1 to turn in that x squared plus x minus 2. So now let's figure it out. This x times x will give you the x squared. This 2 times a negative 1 will give you the negative 2. Okay, so that's why I'm doing that. Now x minus 1. If I multiply that by x, I get the x squared. If I multiply the negative 1 times a positive 2, that's going to give me my negative 2. Now I don't have to multiply anything for the other one because this right here, we don't need to multiply anything by this because we already have it. So now let's distribute everything. We get 5x squared minus 5x all over x squared plus 2x minus x minus 2 minus x squared plus 2x all over x squared plus 2x minus x minus 2 plus 3 over x squared plus x minus 2. when you combine this, you get 1x, which will gives you that x that you need. So I get 5x squared minus 5x all over x squared plus x minus 2 minus x squared plus 2x all over x squared minus x, plus x minus 2 plus 3 over x squared plus x minus 2. Now you can combine the like terms. 5x squared minus x is 4x squared. Negative 5x minus 2x is going to be negative 7x. And then 0 minus 0 plus 3 is just plus 3. We're left with x squared plus x minus 2. You're going to go ahead and factor. Okay, the bottom, I would get x plus 2 and x minus 1. The top, I'm going to have to do the fraction. Whoops, no. Okay. So now let's do that. We're going to be left with x squared minus 7x plus 12. X, we're going to be left with, let me see, negative 3 and negative 4 divided by 4. You're going to be left with 4x minus 3 and x minus 1. So 4x minus 3 and x minus 1, these cancel. You're left with 4x minus 3 over x plus 2. And then you're done. And then that's it. So I am not going to go over homework 5, but I did give you the key. It's on the PowerPoint, so feel free to check it. But I did the majority of your notes. Oops. So go ahead and finish that up.